Hey, this your boy Rude Dog. Check this out, man. Yo, we got some Naptown shit going down. You know what I'm saying? Check out the bling, nigga, blinging on you now. But yo, though, we got some Naptown shit going down in the motherfucking Gizzy. Yo, check this out though. We about to go ahead and get on off into this. This is an adult channel where adult things do happen, adult things do go on. You will hear me smoking, you will hear me coughing, you will hear me saying some things that will offend you. Profanity is used extensively. If you are under 18, please get your parents' permission. This is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Do not take anything in these videos as accurate in real life. Anything said in these videos is no slander or disrespect. All behaviors is expressed in regards to the title. Talk my shit. So that's what I'm doing, talking my shit. Now, I'm just letting y'all know that the copyrights to this video is from Channel 6. So they put this out there, so yo, this is some Naptown shit going down. Naptown gang indictments. Yo, y'all need to know about this, man. Yo, shit goes down in Nap. You heard? Shit goes down in Nap, nigga. Y'all gotta realize, boy, Naptown ain't no joke around here. You heard me? Anyways, let's make it happen.
Two-day operation, which, as you may recall, ended on Wednesday. 13 people were arrested at multiple sites involving an investigation.
Call 6 investigates inside information for a violent gang coming from a mother who worked for police. Tonight, she is facing termination, and we are getting our first look at just how she helped her son and his friends.
There, as federal agents raided homes across Indianapolis. An operation officials say crossed state lines and led to 18 arrests.
On August 31st, the FBI's Safe Streets Task Force, with assistance from numerous partner agencies, conducted multiple arrest and search operations that disrupted the criminal activities of a neighborhood-based gang known as the 34th Street Gangster Disciples.
Several teenagers are facing charges suspected of criminal gang.
The GDs that hit us up, boy. The GDs out here Nap. Know what I mean? Well, they been here. But you know what I mean? They been here all day. But I'm just letting y'all know, man. This gang shit is serious out here. It's very serious, dog. Real talk.
Gang activity. IMPD tells 13 News the teens call themselves the Taliban Chapo Gang. Police say it's often abbreviated TCG on social media. Investigators say they've spent months gathering evidence dating back to a shooting that occurred in March on MacArthur Lane that injured one young person. Court documents outline other cases investigators are still tying to the gang.
At this hour, police tell us they're looking.
See, this is why y'all young niggas don't get online posing this shit. Because shit like that, you put your ass out there, dog.
For two more people tonight who are now charged in that recent bust on the west side of the SUR 13 gang. Metro Police tell us that arrest warrants are now active for 16-year-old Anthony Nanez and Freddie Martinez.
After a 2-year undercover investigation, DeJuan Morgan, a.k.a. Shorty, faces a long list of felony charges connected to violent gang activity.
Bust happening in Indianapolis. A total of 17 people arrested after raids of a drug ring operating between Indianapolis and Muncie. Take a look here at your screen. State police say the investigation began back in March. This week,
Grundy and others were charged with murder in Marion County, but the case fell apart, allowing Grundy to plead guilty to minor drug charges and declare his innocence in 2017.
They was trying to make something fit.
See, I'm trying to tell y'all, it goes down out here. It goes down, y'all.
It wasn't there.
Grundy beat those charges, and he held a press conference and bragged about it.
Yet just a few months later, in November 2017, federal agents raided a series of homes around Indianapolis and charged Grundy with
developing story. Metro Police looking for another 6 gang members after locking up 9 so far in a sweep targeting the Get Money gang. Take a look at your screen. Investigators say these are the 15 gang members who are facing charges after the sweep.
The task force served citywide.
So basically, these are all different gangs throughout Indy that done got grabbed up from the Get Money gang, all this bullshit. So I wonder what these niggas banging down.
search and arrest warrants. Here are just some of the suspected gang members taken into custody during Operation Smoke Show. Metro Police Chief Rick Hite is offering other known gang members a chance to avoid federal prison time.
Indianapolis might not be the first city people think of when it comes to gangs, but beneath the surface, the streets tell a different story. From neighborhood crews running dope houses to nationally connected organizations tied to the Mexican mafia and gangster disciples, the Circle City has become a battleground for drugs, guns, and power. Over the years, police and federal agents have launched major investigations, uncovering sprawling networks and violent crews leaving their mark on the city. These indictments don't just target individuals, they shine a light on the hidden wars shaping communities across Indianapolis.
Eric Amaro, Ernesto Casas, Jaciel Cruz Avina, Austin Juarez Garcia, Alexander Mendoza, Brian Rodriguez, and Juan Rodriguez. Police say these 7 men are members of the SOAR 13 gang, which claims allegiance to the Mexican mafia. Court records say these men use social media to sell guns and drugs. Investigators allege they also posted photos where they tagged their turf with graffiti and posed with guns to intimidate the community and rival gangs.
Court records say that on February 10th, a pickup truck pulled up behind a marked IMPD patrol car here at the stoplight at Fall Creek Parkway and Keystone Avenue. 2 men in the truck allegedly pointed guns at the police car and acted like they were firing shots.
The alleged gang members took video of the incident and posted it on social media. These are screenshots of that video.
Fucking dumbasses, man. Yo, how dumb can you be, dog? Real talk. Man, these motherfuckers are stupid as fuck.
Police used GPS information on the patrol car and the city flock camera system to track down the truck.
7 men are sitting in jail after a series of raids across Indianapolis. You see them there.
Suspects in this case are thought to be involved in a group called SOAR 13. That group is believed to be responsible for a series of vandalisms like this one here in Hawville, as well as much more serious crimes like drug dealing and threatening the owners of this business here on 10th Street. The sod of this special event business has been repainted after members of the SOAR 13 gang allegedly tagged the building in January. According to this affidavit, 20-year-old Eric Lozano is charged with intimidation and pointing a firearm after he supposedly threatened the owner for painting over the graffiti.
They were mad. Basically, they were mad because we were painting over what they had painted over our building.
Lozano was one of 7 people arrested Tuesday by IMPD for suspected gang activity. The series of raids spanned the city, including at this apartment complex near 42nd and Post. For example, police say one of the suspects, 18-year-old Alexander Mendoza, allegedly rode around in a white Cadillac and posted pictures of guns and drugs, telling people to order now. Following the raids on Tuesday, residents in Hawville are just glad the alleged gang members are being held accountable for the vandalism and violence.
Now, see, now, there's a whole bunch of niggas that's so claim that they linked to them and all this bullshit now. I'm just letting you know, man.
The Sereno 13, also known as the Serenos, is a powerful Hispanic street gang with national reach and direct ties to the Mexican mafia. Federal authorities describe the group as heavily involved in narcotics trafficking, firearms offenses, and violent crime. In early 2025, the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department carried out a citywide sweep targeting a local Sereno 13 crew after a lengthy undercover investigation. The operation led to the arrest of 7 alleged members on organized crime charges. According to police, the Indianapolis clique was part of the larger Sereno 13 network that pays tribute to the Mexican mafia and profits from drug and weapons trafficking. During the raids, officers seized multiple firearms, large amounts of marijuana and pills, as well as cash believed to be tied to drug sales. The suspects now face charges including narcotics distribution, organized criminal activity, and unlawful possession of firearms, with some also charged in neighboring counties on additional drug counts. Authorities have called the sweep one of the most significant actions against a Mexican mafia-affiliated gang in Indianapolis in recent years, underscoring the city's ongoing struggle with nationally connected street organizations. Indianapolis police say their latest gang arrest could bring relief to a neighborhood long troubled by violence and intimidation.
Investigators hope this latest gang arrest has an impact here in the MLK 29th Street area, where community leaders say even people that live here are looking for more peace in the streets. After a 2-year undercover investigation, DeJuan Morgan, a.k.a. Shorty, faces a long list of felony charges connected to violent gang activity.
He was involved in offenses that involve firearms, drugs, and corrupt business.
After complaints from people who live and work in the MLK and West 29th Street area, task force officers started secretly investigating Morgan in 2018.
Do know some of the individuals, and I think I'm sad.
That's what I'm saying. See, that's 29th Street. I know exactly where the hell that's at. That's right down the way from where I used to live at on 25th and motherfucking Martin Luther King. And then, you know, with some family members and shit like that. That's a whole nother story. But I'm telling you, man, that area is well known for some shit like that. I don't know about no motherfucking Shorty. I never heard of a nigga named Shorty. So don't ask me if I know him, because I don't. But I'm just letting you know, man. Shit is known in that area. He ain't lying about that.
About the news.
10 Point's Reverend Charles Harrison has mixed emotions on what impact the gang arrest will have on the area.
It could create some more problems for the neighborhood, or it could make the neighborhood safer. You know, I think we have to wait and see.
Court documents about Morgan's alleged gang activity are sealed for now, but his arrest follows the arrest of Larry Bronson and Nora McKinney, also suspected of being part of the same gang with ties to the Chicago area.
We hope that today is a turning point for the neighborhood, that they can feel safe in their homes and free from any of his intimidation tactics.
Detective Boomershine says even with Morgan's arrest, the investigation is ongoing and has not ruled out even more arrests.
After a 2-year undercover investigation, DeJuan Shorty Morgan now faces multiple felony charges tied to violent gang activity. He was involved in offenses that include firearms, drugs, and corrupt business dealings, said IMPD Captain Chris Boomershine. The investigation began in 2018 after repeated complaints from residents and businesses near Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Street and West 29th Street. Neighbors described Morgan as intimidating and said many lived in fear of his presence. Morgan, who reportedly operated a retail store in the area, was secretly tracked by task force officers. According to Boomershine, detectives linked him to several criminal acts, though many case documents remain sealed while investigators review recently seized evidence. His arrest follows those of Larry Bronson and Nora McKinney, 2 others believed to be connected to the same gang with ties to Chicago. Community leaders reacted with mixed emotions. I know some of the individuals, and I am saddened by the news, said Reverend Charles Harrison of the 10 Point Coalition. But at the same time, I know that police have to do their job. This could make the neighborhood safer, or it could create more problems. We'll have to wait and see. Morgan faces charges in Marion County for being a felon in possession of a firearm.
Now, see, DeJuan Shorty, this dude was somewhat known over there on 29th Street, supposedly. That's something I don't really know about. But obviously, though, he done put in some work over there and it did some real shit, supposedly.
And additional felony charges in Hamilton County for possession of a controlled substance. Captain Boomershine stressed that the investigation is still active. We hope this is a turning point for the neighborhood, so residents can feel safe in their homes and free of intimidation. But we are not ruling out more arrests.
Handcuffed and taken away in a squad car, several members of the Taliban Chapa gang were rounded up and arrested by IMPD last week with the goal of preventing senseless violence.
When we remove these individuals from the city, that's what's making our city safer.
Okay, so they're back on TCB. Now, I never heard of TCB, but the Taliban chopper gang, obviously they out and about.
That's what's allowing people to sleep at night.
This detailed 66-page affidavit provides a timeline of at least 8 shooting incidents connected to the same gang, dating back to March of this year when a juvenile was wounded in a targeted shooting on MacArthur. As these pictures show, members of the Taliban Chapa gang like to pose with firearms on social media and threaten their rivals. Court records claim the group also frequently posted pictures of guns equipped with machine gun conversion devices online, at times using Instagram to try and sell those weapons. One of the suspects, 18-year-old Gustavo Cervantes Faustino, is accused of dealing illegal Xanax and in one post promising to kill his enemies. That behavior was common for the group, as another post allegedly shows one member claiming credit for a retaliation shooting. Another suspect, 18-year-old Hector Suarez, is suspected of taking part in violence stemming from the sale of marijuana vapes at Arsenal Tech High School. Police say the case illustrates how just a few people can be responsible for a long list of crimes. That's why IMPD hopes the raids last week will save lives.
Indianapolis police recently announced the arrest of several teenagers tied to a violent street crew calling itself the Taliban Chapa Gang, or TCG for short. Investigators say the group openly incriminated themselves on social media, posting photos and videos of firearms, threats, and even weapons modified with illegal conversion devices. According to police, the name Taliban Chapa was chosen in reference to 2 friends of the members who died from drug overdoses earlier in the year. Detectives began tracking the gang after a shooting on March 28 along MacArthur Lane left a juvenile injured. From there, investigators built a timeline linking the crew to at least 6 shots fired incidents and 2 additional non-fatal shootings across the northwest side of Indianapolis. The alleged ringleader, Johnny Loisiga, was identified in a Halloween attack near the Cedars apartment homes on 34th Street. A student from Arsenal Tech High School told officers that Loisiga pulled up in a white sedan and shot him shortly after he stepped off a school bus. Surveillance footage traced the car back to Loisiga's residence on Arbutus Drive. Detectives believe the shooting was tied to a turf dispute over selling Mary vapes at the high school, with tensions escalating after Loisiga allegedly stole the victim's backpack days earlier. Loisiga now faces multiple charges, including battery with a deadly weapon, criminal mischief, theft, and pointing a firearm. Police also arrested 2 of his associates, Hector Suarez and Trinidad Garcia, who were charged with criminal organization activity and dealing marijuana. Investigators say the group also marked its presence with graffiti across the northwest side, staking out territory and reinforcing what officers describe as turf mentality. IMPD officials warn that the Taliban Chapa gang's actions show how quickly neighborhood conflicts can spiral into organized violence, even among young offenders.
Green State Police say the investigation began back in March. This week, a total of 14 search warrants were served, leading to 17 arrests.
In March 2025, a multi-agency task force carried out a sweeping operation against a large narcotics network spanning Indianapolis and surrounding counties. Working together, state police, federal investigators, and local officers executed 14 coordinated search warrants that culminated in the arrest of 17 suspects on drug trafficking charges. The case involved a wide range of offenses. Among those taken into custody was Delaware County Deputy Jerry Parks, whose arrest shocked law enforcement circles. Parks was charged alongside civilian suspects, highlighting how deeply the drug trade had embedded itself in central Indiana. The raids turned up significant amounts of narcotics and cash. Investigators reported seizing various drugs. Officers also confiscated $88,945 in suspected drug proceeds. and an arsenal of weapons that included 7 handguns, 1 confirmed stolen along with a shotgun, and 3 rifles. Prosecutors in Marion and Delaware counties are now pursuing cases against the defendants, with charges ranging from drug possession and distribution to firearms violations. Officials say the investigation remains ongoing, and additional indictments, particularly on weapons charges, are expected. Authorities describe the takedown as one of the largest coordinated anti-drug efforts in Indianapolis in recent years, underscoring the scale of the narcotics pipeline running through the city.
Following a lengthy investigation into numerous gang-related acts of violence, several members of the Taliban Chapa gang were rounded up and arrested last November. One of those suspects was a then 18-year-old Hector.
Now, the Taliban Chapa gang, I know there's nothing about no Taliban Chapa gang. To me, like though, I don't believe in. Nah, hold on. I can't say.
Suarez, who was suspected of taking part in violence involving the sale of marijuana vapes at Arsenal Tech High School. Police claim Suarez and other members of his gang frequently posed with guns to threaten their rivals and illegally sold weapons and drugs. Court records show a now 19-year-old Suarez pleaded guilty to drug dealing in exchange for the criminal gang activity charge being dismissed on July 28th. After that deal, he allegedly drove to this home along King Avenue on August 2nd when more than a dozen gunshots were fired into the home. Police believe Suarez's GPS ankle monitor, assigned to him as part of his probation, placed him at the scene of that violence.
In another recent case on the Near West Side, law enforcement reported a gang-related shooting tied to an ongoing rivalry. Specifically, a 19-year-old man was arrested for firing into a house just 5 days after agreeing to a plea deal in an unrelated gang violence case. Police indicated this incident stemmed from a turf dispute in Hawville.
We were there as federal agents raided homes across Indianapolis, an operation officials say crossed state lines.
Now, this is 34th Street Gangster Disciples. Now, okay then, so they went off of the other ones. Now they back on the Gangster Disciples. Let's see what they talking about.
And led to 18 arrests.
Conducted multiple arrests and search operations that disrupted the criminal activities of a neighborhood-based gang known as the 34th Street Gangster Disciples.
A criminal complaint says the arrests were connected to a dogfighting venture and the trafficking of large amounts. Agents are still searching for 2 key suspects in the investigation. They say Gregory Henderson was involved in dogfighting and drug trafficking.
Mr. Henderson was the main source of supply, allegedly, here in Indianapolis, and had a number of lower-level dealers.
Henderson allegedly had multiple properties across Indianapolis where he was dealing and storing drugs, as well as dogs and dogfighting paraphernalia. Court records show these apartments at 42nd and Emerson are where he and one of his alleged dealers lived.
In September 2023, federal prosecutors announced a sweeping case that exposed a violent conspiracy involving drug trafficking, firearms, and illegal dogfighting in Indianapolis. The investigation, years in the making, revealed how organized gangs mix narcotics distribution with blood sport to fuel their operations. On September 7, 2023, a federal grand jury handed down indictments against 21 individuals. The defendants face a range of charges, including conspiracy to distribute drugs, illegal possession of firearms, money laundering, and animal fighting. Authorities carried out more than 30 raids across multiple states, highlighting the reach and scope of the operation. The raids yielded a massive haul. Federal agents seized nearly 90 pit bulls, along with professional dogfighting equipment. Investigators also confiscated large amounts of drugs, in addition to 43 firearms and more than $55,000 in cash. Officials said the findings paint a disturbing picture of a gang-controlled network that combined drug profits with illegal animal fighting. At the center of the case, investigators identified the 34th Street Gangster Disciples, a group based on Indianapolis's East Side. Prosecutors alleged the gang played a central role in both the drug pipeline and the dogfighting operation. Many of those indicted already had prior convictions for gang violence or animal cruelty, further cementing their ties to the criminal underworld. Each defendant faces serious penalties. Federal conspiracy to engage in animal fighting carries a sentence of up to 5 years in prison. For those tied to drug trafficking, the consequences are even harsher, with maximum penalties of life in prison. 2 individuals, Maurice Irvin and Gregory Henderson Jr., remain fugitives and are still being sought by authorities. Federal officials say the case demonstrates the dangerous overlap between gang activity and dogfighting rings. By targeting both drugs and illegal animal fighting, prosecutors hope the indictments will deliver a significant blow to one of Indianapolis's most violent criminal networks.
Wednesday, 13 people were arrested at multiple sites involving an investigation which began back in April. The prosecutor's office says the gang, which operated out of the city's northwest side, was all about selling and guns in Marion County. Gang members now face a long list of criminal charges. And now to this person, IMPD employee Deangra Williams, in big trouble. She's not an officer, but she had access to sensitive police information which she was providing to the gang. Her son, identified as one of the gang members. Documents say that she ran gun checks on about 100 weapons and provided the gang with information on individuals believed to be IMPD confidential informants. Williams alone is facing 40 criminal charges. I have to tell you that Williams initially told police that she was not involved in this.
New details on just how a city employee was able to pass along information on one of the city's most violent gangs. We have learned Deangra Williams was providing sensitive information to the Pons Army gang while she worked for IMPD. She apparently used police computers to see if the guns the gang was hoping to sell were stolen. Sources tell us non-stolen guns get a higher price on the streets. Williams is facing termination from IMPD.
The Pons Army, a notorious drug trafficking crew on Indianapolis's northwest side, was dismantled by law enforcement in the mid-2010s following a series of undercover probes and raids. Between 2015 and 2017, dozens of members and associates were arrested and prosecuted in connection with the organization's drug operations. In June 2017, 3 alleged members pleaded guilty in Marion County to drug distribution. Each received a 3-year sentence, with 2 years suspended, under plea agreements with prosecutors. Their convictions were part of a broader campaign that targeted more than a dozen individuals tied to the crew. Police operations reached a turning point in October 2015, when investigators executed multiple raids at properties linked to the Pons Army. One raid, which shocked the community, took place inside a daycare. Across the searches, officers seized 35 firearms, roughly $15,000 in cash, and significant quantities of drugs. Authorities said the raids revealed the gang's deep entrenchment in both narcotics trafficking and neighborhood life. While some defendants ultimately saw charges dismissed or reduced, prosecutors secured convictions against several key players. The case also ensnared a former IMPD civilian employee, Deangra Williams, accused of leaking police intelligence to the gang. Williams later admitted guilt to weapons charges and unlawfully passing police information, underscoring how far the gang's influence had spread. By the time prosecutions wrapped, the Pons Army's leadership had been fractured, its operations crippled, and its members scattered. Still, investigators described the case as a sobering reminder of how drug trafficking networks can infiltrate communities and even compromise law enforcement insiders. What these indictments reveal is bigger than just arrests or headlines. They expose how deep gang culture and organized crime run in Indianapolis, from teenage cliques carrying out schoolyard beefs to national organizations tied to cartels and prison gangs.
Now keep in mind, this was a whole damn cop. This was a whole cop. A whole cop sitting here giving known motherfucking gangsters information about motherfucking cases, all types of shit, if motherfuckers informants, any type of thing like that. That just goes to show you how crooked the game is out here, man. I'm trying to tell you, dog. Shit is not what you think it is. So don't come out here thinking shit's sweet, because it ain't. You know what I mean? I'm trying to tell you, these motherfuckers, the cops even in on it now.
Get Money Gang. Take a look at your screen. Investigators say these are the 15 gang members who are facing charges after the sweep. Investigators say members of the Get Money Gang have been linked to several drug trafficking, gun use, and other violent crimes around the city.
Butler-Tarkington neighborhood has gone 190 days without a murder. The folks here are pleased with this morning's arrests. These are the mugshots of the suspects. It's not clear how many of the crimes they are accused of committing actually happened in Butler-Tarkington, because their home base was to the north at the old Creekwood Apartments and this address at 6407 Scenic Court. Back in August, 32-year-old Clarence Havard III was gunned down in the 300 block of North Bernard Avenue. No one has been charged in that crime.
Law enforcement officials report that 15 members of the Get Money Gang have been charged. The gang has been linked to a series of crimes in the area, and authorities have been working to reduce violence and crime through a coordinated effort involving the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department, MPD, the FBI, and other agencies. The gang operates primarily in 2 locations on the north side of Indianapolis: the Creekwood Apartments near West 71st Street and North Michigan Road, and 6470 Scenic Court. The 15 members face various charges, including dealing drugs, corrupt business influence, and criminal gang activity. Authorities used rap videos posted on YouTube as evidence in their investigation. One song, titled "Go to War," featured lyrics that referenced the gang's activities and included depictions of weapons and threats of violence. Police stated that these were not just empty threats, as the individuals featured in the videos are now either under arrest or wanted for various criminal activities. The Butler-Tarkington community has experienced significant violence, including the deletion of 10-year-old Deshaun Swanson, which officials believe was the unintended result of gang-related activity. This incident was part of a broader pattern of violence that included 4 homicides in the neighborhood. Residents and community leaders expressed relief at the recent arrests, hoping that it signals a turning point for the area. The group was...
They said out there on 71st Street. I never known shit to go down on 71st Street, you know what I mean? But hey, shit happens.
It's also been linked to other incidents, such as a shooting on the downtown canal in 2012 and the 2014 shooting of cab driver Ricardo White by alleged gang member Landon Tompkins.
Brett has been accused of being linked to a federal drug investigation and opening fire on police make their first court appearance today. Adrian Bullock, Richard Grundy, William Gammon, and Ronnie Batts were in court for their initial hearing. Police say the group, along with another man, Lance Hatcher, were arrested after an ATF surveillance operation last week. Police tried to make a traffic stop last week after watching the men coming and going from a house in the 300 block of West 38th Street. And that's when court records say there was a police chase and shots were fired. Bullets hit a family's home across the street. A number of supporters for the men who are now behind bars showed up in court today and voiced their own opinions.
U.S. Attorney Josh Minkler celebrated a life sentence for Richard Grundy III, but admitted that justice didn't happen overnight. Following a series of 2014, Grundy and others were charged with murder in Marion County, but the case fell apart, allowing Grundy to plead guilty to minor drug charges and declare his innocence in 2017.
They was trying to make something fit that wasn't there.
Grundy beat those charges, and he held a press conference and bragged about it.
Yet just a few months later, in November 2017, federal agents raided a series of homes around Indianapolis and charged Grundy with importing. More than 20 people were convicted in that case, culminating with Grundy's life sentence.
In October 2015, prosecutors announced charges against 11 alleged members of the Grundy crew as part of an investigation into what they characterized as a large-scale drug trafficking organization. The criminal charges outlined a multi-state operation that reportedly moved significant quantities of drugs from Phoenix to Indianapolis. Several members of the group, including Grundy, were already facing separate charges related to dealing and conspiracy to distribute, stemming from a January 29, 2015 incident involving a police pursuit, during which shots were fired at officers. The charges also included multiple counts of deletion and conspiracy to commit deletion, related to at least 7 incidents since 2013. Despite these accusations, prosecuting the Grundys has proven challenging. In April 2016, prosecutors dropped 4 deletion charges against Grundy after a key witness was found to have misled investigators about her identity. The witness, who initially identified herself as Portia Harris, provided testimony under this false identity and received financial assistance from the Department of Justice. Upon discovery of the deception, it was revealed that the real Portia Harris had no involvement in the case, and the witness received over $6,000 before the truth came to light. Other witnesses have been reluctant to testify or have not come forward at all, complicating the prosecution's efforts. This individual has considerable influence, said a source familiar with the family. He could reach people, even those who may not be directly involved. John H. Means, who authorities described as the Grundy crew's alleged enforcer, similarly avoided conviction for his alleged involvement in 2 2014 incidents. Prosecutors believe that Grundy had instructed Means to target 4 individuals: Tyrese Dorsey, William Davis, Carlos Jefferson, and Julius Douglas. Despite the charges, Means was acquitted in a retrial concerning the incidents involving Jefferson and Douglas and had charges dropped in the Dorsey and Davis case due to a lack of sufficient evidence. The Grundy family's alleged activities and the subsequent challenges in securing convictions illustrate the complexities and difficulties that law enforcement and prosecutors face in addressing organized crime.
The notorious gang operating in Indianapolis is now out of business this evening following one of the biggest crime sweeps in our city that it has ever had.
Police say that this area you see behind me, 42nd and Post, is the main turf for the gang that's been taken down and put out of business. And one of the suspected leaders has yet to be arrested. Wednesday afternoon, federal agents continued to look for William Brown, aka Jeezy, one of the suspected gang members operating in the Circle City for years. Operation Smoke Show started after the suspected gang members posted photos like this one on social media. The pictures show thousands in cash, including a stack of $100 bills. Chopper 13 recorded the police helicopter as the task force served citywide search and arrest warrants. Here are just some of the suspected gang members taken into custody during Operation Smoke Show.
The Wednesday bust of the Block Burners revealed startling details of the Indianapolis.
See, the Block Burners. I never heard of these niggas. I probably know some of these motherfuckers.
Gang. On social media, they posed for photographs with firearms and large amounts of cash, court documents said. On the streets, they openly talked about drug dealing. But perhaps most unnerving is what could be described as a criminal enterprise development league, an affiliated gang for people ages 18 to 23. The FBI's Safe Streets Gang Task Force began investigating the Block Burners in late 2014, but court documents say the gang has been operating in the community for more than a decade. In 2004, former members of Four Deuce, an Indianapolis gang centralized at East 42nd Street and Post Road, founded the Block Burners and primarily operate on the city's northeast side. The Block Burners are described in court documents as a violent, highly structured gang consisting of both male and female members. The gang also has a sub-element for members 18 to 23 known as the 2Times Gang, or 2TG. The group of younger members is named for Dominique 2Times Jenkins, a high-ranking member of the Block Burners deleted in January 2013, court documents said. His brother Damon Smith, aka Dum, 19, established 2TG in his honor. Despite the age difference, the 2TG members operated in step with the Block Burners. The fresh recruits engaged in the same kind of violent activity as the older bangers with the hope of moving the gang's overall drug enterprise forward. Investigators have assessed the Block Burners as the largest violent criminal gang operating in the city, court documents said. About 90 members have been identified by police. Since their inception, the Block Burners have claimed areas from Post Road East to German Church Road and from East 21st Street North to East 56th Street. They specialize in violent crime, drug dealing, and illegal firearms, court documents said. To learn more about the Block Burners drug operation, police use confidential informants and undercover agents to conduct.
So the Block Burners was right there on 38th. Damn. See, I didn't even know.
More than 24 controlled purchases with the gang, court documents said. Wiretaps also were placed on the phones of 5 members to gain additional insight and identify roles within the organization. Members Fred Davidson, 32, Daryl Stennis, 26, David Williams, 36, and Aaron Garrett, aka Nanny, 22, were described in court documents as suppliers for other members. Monitored conversations also revealed Davidson making trips to California to buy for distribution in Indianapolis, documents said. In mid-May, Davidson was caught on security footage at a Crenshaw, California post office mailing a package intended for Brown, court documents said. After a drug-detecting dog alerted police to the package, a warrant was obtained and more than 680 grams were found inside the box. Suppliers such as Stennis seem to take pride in the potency of their product, court documents indicate. Stennis often called on addicts to serve as testers and asked the users to rate the power of the drug on a 10-point scale. During an April 27 phone call with the dealer he supplied, Stennis asked how a frequent tester known as Cal was enjoying his latest batch, court documents said. Stennis was pleased to hear that the drug nearly deleted Cal and that the tester's lips turned blue and skin went pale after taking a hit. Face-to-face encounters between informants and Blockburner's dealers gave investigators a glimpse at the level of violence gang members were willing to commit, even against each other. On May 7, a controlled buy was set up with Tremaine Tatum, 22, court documents said.
See, the Blockburners even turning on each other. That's bad business.
Tatum was supposed to meet an informant around 2:30 p.m. at the Brentwood Apartments at 42nd and Post, but the 2TG member never showed. The informant eventually bought 2 grams from Smith for $200, but moments later, the undercover agent waiting nearby heard screaming, court documents said. The informant told the undercover source that after the deal with Smith was done, Tatum arrived and put a pistol to Smith's head, court documents said. Tatum told Smith, "Give me my bread," and Smith quickly handed over the $200. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter accounts associated with the gang were closely monitored. Investigators looked into the employment and income history of gang members posing with stacks of cash to confirm suspicions that the money was obtained illegally. After nearly a year of gathering information, 525 law enforcement officers from throughout the Midwest served 22 federal and state warrants at 32 different locations during the sting, dubbed Operation Smoke Show. The bust netted drugs, guns, and more than $53,000 in cash. Federal prosecutors have charged 9 Indianapolis men allegedly connected to a group called the Mob in connection with 24 pharmacy robberies across Indiana and Kentucky. The 31-page indictment, unsealed on Tuesday, outlines the defendants' alleged involvement in a series of 23 robberies at CVS pharmacies in the Indianapolis area and one in Louisville, Kentucky, between December 2014 and June 2016. The indictment claims the group stole thousands of prescriptions, which were then resold on the streets of Indianapolis. Attorney Josh Minkler stated that the group also recruited juveniles, referred to as peons, to carry out the robberies on their behalf. The indictment also highlighted social media activity by alleged members of the Mob, where they discussed possessing drugs and firearms and made references to gang membership, adherence to a code of silence, and the consequences of snitching. One post, dated December 25, 2014, warned against cooperating with authorities, stating, "Don't get deleted for giving names. All you informants are going to have to rest in peace." The document further alleges that the men were involved in a shooting incident in October 2015 during a dispute over the distribution of stolen drugs. Although the indictment does not name the victim, the details match the circumstances surrounding the deletion of 19-year-old Malik Perry in the Butler-Tarkington neighborhood. Prosecutors indicated that the individual responsible for Perry's deletion was not named in the adult indictment, suggesting the involvement of one of the group's juvenile members. The Mob is said to have operated primarily in the near north side of Indianapolis, including the Crown Hill, Butler-Tarkington, and Martindale-Brightwood neighborhoods.
Crews like the Taliban Chopper Gang, the Sereno 13, and the 34th Street Gangster Disciples show how local conflicts can quickly escalate into full-blown wars with deadly consequences. But the raids, arrests, and indictments also show something else that law enforcement is adapting, tracking these groups with long investigations and coordinated crackdowns. For some neighborhoods, the takedowns bring a moment of relief, a chance to breathe without constant fear of shootings or drug traffic. For others, they leave a void that new crews are quick to fill, continuing the cycle. At the end of the day, Indianapolis is a city caught between community and crime, where every indictment tells part of a larger story about loyalty, violence, and survival. And while these cases may remove certain players from the streets, the bigger question remains: How long before the next generation steps in to take their place?
A corrections officer is accused of ending up on the other side of the law after police say she tried smuggling hard drugs into.
Now, like though, this is a whole nother thing right here. I forgot to change the title though. But yeah, this is a whole nother thing right here. This is about how harsh the prisons are in Indiana, period. Because they say shit's crazy in Indy when it comes to they say like that shit gets wild when it comes to the prisons and jails in Indiana because motherfuckers is crooked. They're crooked as hell. That's just basically how it is. So I'm gonna name this just Indiana right all in itself. Okay, wow. There we go. Now, let's start this one up. Let's go ahead and make it happen, y'all.
Pendleton Correctional Facility here where she worked this week using an unsealed fruit punch flavored body armor bottle just like this one. Court documents say 26-year-old Shakira Graham carried the bottle past metal detectors at the start of her shift, but because the seal was broken, other staff members searched.
A counselor and an inmate are recovering after a stabbing at Newcastle Correctional Facility. State police tonight are telling us an inmate stabbed the counselor in the neck today during a group session. Several other inmates tried to intervene. One of them was stabbed.
Former corrections officer is sentenced to 50 years in prison for sexually assaulting inmates. A jury convicted Jabenga Afolabi earlier this month on multiple charges. Prosecutors say the sexual abuse happened at the Indiana Women's Prison.
The wrongful death trial on behalf of 30-year-old Joshua Devine had been set to start next month in federal court in South Bend. Court documents allege a television caught fire in his cell on April 7th, 2017, that there was no working sprinkler system there, and restrictions on inmate water use complicated matters. The suit states prison staff had multiple opportunities to release Devine, but that his cell door wasn't opened until nearly an hour after the fire broke out.
Dennis Cousins, hired just 5 months ago as a state corrections officer, could now go to prison himself. He's accused of attempting to sell drugs at the Westville Correctional Facility.
A prison caseworker is in serious trouble for allegedly having a sexual relationship with an inmate. According to our news gathering partner at the Kokomo Tribune, it happened at the Miami Correctional Facility back in September.
Indiana's prison system is under pressure and breaking. Overcrowding, chronic understaffing.
It just shows that the prison system is even fucked up. Now, that's pretty fucked up.
Staffing and violent gangs have turned several facilities into war zones. Reports of stabbings, beatings, and deletions are frequent, with inmates often left to fend for themselves while exhausted guards struggle to maintain control. A 2018 Human Rights Watch report warned of rising violence inside Indiana's Supermax units, a warning that's come true. From white supremacist groups like the Aryan Circle to Black and Latino gangs, organized factions dominate cell blocks, sparking brutal clashes. Meanwhile, some officers have been accused of using excessive force, and rare prison escapes have triggered statewide alerts. Below, we take a close look at Indiana's most dangerous prisons and the harsh, often hidden realities behind their gates.
Terry, what the staff failed to do was to provide a timely response to the victim of the stabbing that occurred at the state prison in Michigan City in October of 2021. The victim actually was from South Bend, 25 years old at the time, Juwan Jones. He was stabbed in his cell by a fellow inmate after an argument. Now, the suit states The stabbing injuries themselves were not life-threatening. It was the unconscionable delay in the receipt of treatment that brought about the death of Juwan Jones. According to the suit, about a half hour before the ambulance arrived, about 50 minutes before Jones arrived at the hospital to start treatment. The wrongful death trial on behalf of 30-year-old Joshua Devine had been set to start next month in federal court in South Bend. Court documents allege a television caught fire in his cell on April 7th, 2017, that there was no working sprinkler system there, and restrictions on inmate water use complicated matters. The suit states prison staff had multiple opportunities to release Devine, but that his cell door wasn't opened until nearly an hour after the fire broke out. The cause of Devine's death determined to be thermal burn.
That's what I'm saying, nearly an hour. An hour, man.
Start with breaking news. Police say an inmate at this Indiana State Prison stabbed 2 guards. One of them, officers say it happened this afternoon at the facility in Michigan City. The guards were in a common area when they were attacked. The surviving guard is in the hospital in serious condition.
Information at 4 detectives are investigating the Indiana State Prison in Michigan City. It happened around 4:30 this morning. The victim is an inmate at the prison. He's identified as 44-year-old Victor Glenn from Indianapolis.
They got him. Officers in Indiana captured an escaped convict who was on the run for more than 12 hours. 39-year-old Travis Hornet walked away from work detail at the Indiana State Prison in Michigan City around 11 yesterday morning. Now, Hornet is a convicted burglar. Indiana Department of Corrections officers, along with state police, tracked him to a vacant home he had broken into in Beverly Shores. Hornet then surrendered without a fight shortly after midnight.
The Indiana State Prison says a maintenance foreman attacked by a prisoner earlier this week will not survive his injuries. Mike Keel just recently celebrated his 29-year anniversary with the Department of Corrections. Funeral announcements will be made here in the coming days. Jeremy Davidson is accused of hitting Keel on the head with a pipe. Reports show it happened after an argument broke.
He hit that nigga in the head with a pipe. He said, bitch, boop, bucked right in the head. That's fucked up. Jeremy Davidson, Citizens for Child Molestation. Get that right now. Remember that face, y'all.
Broke out between an inmate and an employee in a steel shop.
Indiana State Prison, located in Michigan City, is the oldest and one of the most dangerous prisons in the state. Opened in 1860, the 100-acre facility houses some of Indiana's most violent offenders, including death row inmates and long-term lifers. It operates 13 housing units and is known for its high tension and frequent violence. In July 2017, inmate Willie Steele, serving 65 years for deletion, was found fatally stabbed inside his cell block. He died at the hospital despite emergency efforts. A grim reminder of how lethal everyday conflicts can become behind SP's walls. And even the lower security areas aren't immune to problems. In July 2019, 39-year-old Travis Hornet escaped from a minimum security work crew while sweeping a parking lot, triggering a full-scale manhunt. Though he was caught later that night, the escape highlighted serious gaps in security and staffing. Former correctional officers say ISP is overrun with gangs, and housing units are often understaffed, with inmates outnumbering officers by a wide margin. The combination of overcrowding, organized gangs, and weak oversight has turned ISP into a constant flashpoint for violence and disruption.
Rich?
Right. So a source told me that the prison guard was stabbed multiple times, but is expected to be okay. And it appears Carl Boards will be moved to a higher security prison. Carl Boards is charged with shooting Elwood police officer Noah Chavez during a traffic stop at about 2 a.m. on July 31st, 2022. Police believe Boards fired 36 shots at Chavez while he was still...
July 31st, 2022, Miami Correctional Facility. On his birthday, on my brother's birthday. On my brother's birthday. Damn, that's fucked up.
Boards was stopped and taken into custody on Interstate 69 less than an hour later by Fishers police. He was held at the Hamilton County Jail for about 6 months before being ordered to the custody of the Indiana Department of Correction. He was first sent to the nearby Pendleton Correctional Facility in February 2023. But by the summer, Boards was transferred to the Miami Correctional Facility. He has been there for almost 2 years now. A source tells 13 News that Boards allegedly stabbed the prison guard Thursday night. The guard was expected to be all right and released from the hospital as soon as Friday. The source says Boards will now be moved to the maximum security Westville Correctional Facility in northwest Indiana.
A prison caseworker is in serious trouble for allegedly having a sexual relationship with an inmate. According to our news gathering partner at the Kokomo Tribune, it happened at the Miami
I got you
Correctional
what you
Facility
need.
back in September. Well, 28-year-old Bridget McKeekin
Yeah.
says that she just turned
That's what she
18
said. I got you what you need.
threatened her if he didn't
That's like what she said.
if she didn't comply with his demand.
We're working to find out what led to an altercation between an inmate at the Miami Correctional Facility that injured an officer. This happened on Saturday. Just after it happened, the officers put the jail on lockdown. Now, what happened is still unclear.
Developments in a death investigation in Miami County. A forensic pathologist has determined the cause of death for an inmate at the Miami Correctional Facility. As News 18 previously reported, corrections officers found 43-year-old
Leo Coolin. Leo Coolin. I don't know who Leo Coolin is. But damn, that's fucked up though.
Leo Cullen severely injured in
Cullen.
a day room on Wednesday morning. He died from his injuries. According to Indiana State Police, a forensic pathologist conducted the autopsy on Thursday. She found that Cullen died from blood loss due to multiple stab wounds.
Police are investigating the death of an inmate at the Miami Correctional Facility. ISP detectives were notified by state prison leaders just before 2 this morning. The inmate was identified as 23-year-old David Eggert.
Indiana State Police say they suspect foul play in the death of a Miami County inmate. Troopers tell us the prison staff found Matthew Koch unresponsive in his cell Sunday morning. They tried to save him,
In
but he
Miami County, police say the death of a 7-year-old inmate at the Miami Correctional Facility was a homicide. Prison officials
70-year-old inmate found dead in cell. Investigations suspect for foul play. Ugh.
found Laney Morgan unresponsive in his cell this morning. He died before getting to the hospital. Investigators say they do suspect foul play.
Miami Correctional Facility in Bunker Hill is widely considered the most chaotic men's prison in Indiana. Former staff and investigative journalists have described the prison as out of control, and the data backs it up. Emergency medical runs to the facility have tripled since 2015, with 73 ambulance calls recorded in the first 10 months of 2020 alone. Nearly 30 of those were for violent incidents like stabbings and fights, and many more were vaguely labeled medical, suggesting even more violence may be going unreported. The core issue is extreme understaffing. In 2018, the prison had around 375 correctional officers. By late 2020, that number had dropped to just 266, with roughly a third of those posts sitting vacant. Housing units meant to be supervised by 8 officers were often left with only 2 or 3 on duty. With so few staff, maximum security inmates, many of them violent and serving long sentences, are essentially left to police themselves. This power vacuum has created a culture where daily violence is the norm. Stabbings, fights, and lockdowns are common, and former officers say the environment drives out anyone not willing to get their hands dirty. One insider put it bluntly, "We're lucky if we have 2 guards. The facility is too short-staffed to stop the violence." At Miami, razor blades, weapons, and chaos are a daily part of life. And for many inside, survival means staying alert at all times.
A corrections officer is accused of ending up on the other side of the law after police say she tried smuggling hard drugs into Pendleton Correctional Facility here where she worked this week using an unsealed fruit punch flavored body armor bottle just like this one. Court documents say 26-year-old Shakira Graham carried the bottle past metal detectors at the start of her shift, but because the seal was broken, other staff members searched it, and inside was meth and fentanyl. Investigators then learned she was having a sexual relationship with a convicted. currently serving 60 years. Madison County Prosecutor Rodney
Know what I mean?
Cummings says this case speaks to an ongoing problem of drugs, contraband, and all sorts of inappropriate relationships between guards and prisoners.
I was in the courthouse some time ago, maybe within the last 5 years, when an inmate called one of my deputy prosecutors on a cell phone from the prison.
Authorities say an inmate is dead after an attack inside the Pendleton Correctional Facility. Officials heard a loud noise Wednesday morning, then found Ezekiel Jones lying on his back with a wound to his neck. He was taken to the hospital but later died. Authorities say a suspect in the attack and a witness are now being questioned.
Sunrise police charge one of their own with bribery after finding 100 cell phones in his car.
This investigation actually started yesterday morning when police found those cell phones. Dropped it off at the prison in Pendleton to get the brakes fixed.
And detectives caught up with Officer Taylor Hardesty at a friend's.
State police are investigating an attack on a corrections officer at the Pendleton prison right now. Police say an inmate attacked the officer yesterday, just after noon, inside that correctional facility there.
And an update to breaking news from yesterday morning. A corrections officer with the Pendleton Correctional Facility now in jail, accused of attacking an inmate earlier this month. Court documents show Shaughnessy Edmonds was caught on video punching an inmate in the face while he tried to restrain him.
Busted. That's exactly what an Indiana correctional officer is today after investigators found him with drugs. And those drugs weren't intended for himself. They were intended for an inmate at the state prison. Police believe correctional officer Mark Wooten intended to sell $20,000 worth of drugs to an inmate at the Pendleton Correctional Facility.
The Pendleton Correctional Facility now faces more than 60 inmates who say exposure to bacteria led to several illnesses. Back in 2021, one inmate died from Legionnaire's disease at the prison, and the
See, that just goes to show how motherfuckers be treating them in there. Look at that shit, man. I'll just sit here and stay quiet, man, just so I can hear these stories. Man, these motherfuckers is doing people wrong.
Department of Corrections pledged to take action to limit exposure to contaminated water.
Pendleton Correctional Facility in central Indiana is a medium security men's prison with a reputation for sudden, deadly violence. In July 2018, a routine housing inspection turned fatal when inmate Ezekiel Jones was found bleeding from a neck wound. He died at the hospital hours later, and investigators confirmed he had been stabbed by another prisoner. The entire prison went on lockdown as authorities searched for weapons and questioned inmates. That wasn't an isolated incident. In the same year, a fire destroyed Pendleton's treatment center, and staff later reported finding improvised weapons in cells amid rumors of homemade explosives. The environment is tense and volatile, with gangs like the Aryan Circle and Bloods battling for dominance inside the cell blocks. Gangs are routinely discovered, and lockdown units known for strict discipline are said to fuel anger and resentment among inmates. While officials often highlight post-incident responses, the reality is clear. Pendleton remains a place where the threat of sudden violence hangs over every interaction, and survival often depends on knowing who to trust and when to watch your back.
Watching this developing story out of Newcastle, Indiana, at the Newcastle Correctional Facility, where inmates for several hours took over a part of the prison. There was a riot, according to the mayor, that happened inside this correctional facility, which holds 1,000 to 2,000 inmates, depending on what report you're looking at here. According to what we've heard from authorities, there were several fires set on scene, that prisoners were running around with makeshift weapons, and 2 corrections officers were hurt in this so far. That's the latest reports we're getting. This, of course, is raising a lot of issues about what caused this and how this got so out of control. We do know that hundreds of inmates have been brought in from out of state, specifically Arizona, as part of a phase-in plan to help with the prison population overcrowding problem out of the state of Arizona.
A counselor and an inmate are recovering after a stabbing at Newcastle Correctional Facility. State police tonight are telling us an inmate stabbed the counselor in the neck today during a group session.
Stabbed her ass right in the neck, shanked her.
Several other inmates tried to intervene. One of them was stabbed.
Inmate is facing attempt charges for reportedly stabbing 2 people inside the Newcastle Correctional Facility. Charges were filed this week against Ronald Menzie. He's serving a 70-year sentence for the murder of a Gary man back in 2018. Investigators say he was in a group therapy session April 28th when he reportedly attacked the counselor. He also reportedly stabbed another inmate who tried to stop all this.
Well, new tonight, 2 inmates are back in custody after walking out of the Newcastle Correctional Facility. Officials say Austin Bolton and Keegan Brooks walked away from a minimum security housing unit, but were found and returned within 2 hours.
Newcastle Correctional Facility in Henry County is a stark example of how neglect and violence go hand in hand inside Indiana's prison system. In February 2020, a mentally ill inmate, Brandon Nisley, repeatedly told guards he couldn't breathe. Witnesses say officers laughed off his complaints and never called for help. Nurses later admitted he was visibly turning blue, yet no one checked his vitals or dialed 911. Nisley died that evening. Prosecutors called it callous indifference, and his family sued the doc for failing to act. 3 years later, in April 2023, another major incident exposed the prison's volatility. During a group therapy session, a prisoner suddenly pulled a shank and stabbed the mental health counselor in the neck. As others rushed to intervene, a second inmate was stabbed in the chest. Both victims survived, but the scene revealed how quickly violence can explode, even in supposed safe zones like counseling rooms. Former staff described Newcastle as overcrowded and severely understaffed, with black market drugs driving many of the conflicts. Inmates report being left on lockdown for weeks at a time with little supervision. Between poor medical response and unchecked aggression, Newcastle has gained a reputation as one of Indiana's most neglected and dangerous facilities.
Department of Corrections has moved the Delphi suspect to a new prison. The state filed this notice with the court saying it moved Richard Allen to the Wabash Valley facility this week. That's just south of Terre Haute. He spent the last year in the Westville prison. Allen's previous attorneys raised concerns about his treatment there and asked that he be moved. But the judge refused that request. The DOC has not explained the reasons yet for this move. Allen is accused of Abby Williams and Libby German in Delphi nearly 7 years
Dennis
ago.
Cousins, hired just 5 months ago as a state corrections officer, could now go to prison himself. He's accused of attempting to sell drugs at the Westville Correctional Facility. Police arrested Cousins
At Westville.
when he reported for work Friday. Authorities say they recovered Suboxone, a narcotic.
Right now, correction officers are searching for a missing inmate at the Westville Correctional Facility. That's near Michigan City. They don't believe he's escaped, but he has been reported missing. This here is the man, 31-year-old Dustin Lasser.
Indiana state troopers investigate an inmate's death. It happened at Westville Prison. Police say 35-year-old John Taylor died from blunt force trauma.
Westville Correctional Facility in northwest Indiana is one of the state's largest prisons, housing adult men in a sprawling, often volatile complex. Its size and isolation have made it a stronghold for gangs like the Bloods, Crips, and Aryan Circle. Fights are common, weapons circulate regularly, and some altercations have ended in stabbings. But it's not just inmate violence that defines Westville. It's also the disturbing allegations of staff abuse. In 2023, court records from the high-profile Delphi deletions case included letters from inmates describing brutal treatment inside Westville's restrictive housing unit. One inmate, Robert Baston, claimed he was repeatedly taunted and physically attacked by guards, including being labeled. After reporting the abuse to the court, he alleged that officers retaliated by slamming him to the ground, breaking his foot and ankle. In a follow-up letter, he wrote, "Until this court can protect me and other inmates, I do not feel safe to testify." The image of Delphi suspect Richard Allen, reportedly held naked in a wheeled restraint chair for safety, only added to public concern over how Westville handles high-profile and vulnerable prisoners. While the Indiana DOC insists its use of force policies are closely monitored, inmate accounts paint a different picture, a place where power can be abused and safety is never guaranteed, not from gangs, and not from the people guarding the cells.
Inmates at the Indiana Women's Prison say they are dealing with simply unbearable heat. Several.
See what I mean? I tell you, man. Indianapolis Women's Prison. Let's hear it.
Lawmakers are also looking into their concerns tonight, including State Senator J.D. Ford. He says he has heard of inmates passing out, even having seizures because of the heat. The Indiana Department of Corrections says the cells do not have air conditioning, but the common areas.
Former corrections officer is sentenced to 50 years in prison for sexually assaulting inmates. A jury convicted Jabanga Afolabi earlier this month on multiple charges. Prosecutors say the sexual abuse happened at the Indiana Women's Prison. They say 4 victims came forward. They say he used his position to threaten them if they did not comply.
Indiana's only women's prison may be smaller than its male counterparts, but it's no less dangerous. A 2024 criminal trial exposed deep-rooted issues when former corrections officer Jabanga Afolabi was convicted of raping and sexually assaulting multiple inmates. Prosecutors said he used his position of power to prey on vulnerable women. Afolabi was found guilty of rape, sexual misconduct, and intimidation, and sentenced to 50 years in prison. His conviction confirmed long-standing fears among inmates. A 2021 podcast investigation revealed widespread neglect and abuse inside the facility, including denied medical care and sexual assaults, often with devastating consequences like trauma, suicide, and untreated health crises. Despite being a women's facility, the Indiana Women's Prison also struggles with contraband and gang-related tensions, as rival inmates fight for control. Overcrowding only worsens the situation. The prison routinely houses more inmates than its roughly 521 bed capacity allows, putting strain on both staff and resources. Like the state's men's prisons, a culture of fear defines daily life here. And for many incarcerated women, the greatest threats come not just from each other, but from those in charge of their safety. Indiana's most dangerous prisons paint a bleak picture: overcrowded, understaffed, and often out of control. Violence is common, from stabbings to assaults, driven by gang rivalries, poor conditions, and desperation. Officers are stretched too thin to maintain safety, and in some cases, they become part of the problem. Escapes, fires, and lawsuits, including a $4 million settlement after an inmate burned to death at ISP, point to deep, systemic failure. Whether it's a men's supermax or the state's only women's facility, life behind bars in Indiana can mean living under constant threat, not just from inmates, but from the very system meant to confine and protect.
And that's that. But yo, I gotta get on up out of here for the night though. It was good to sit back and share these times with y'all, but hey, I'm telling y'all, man, these prisons, you gotta watch out for them. It's that serious. Holla at your boy, Rude Dog.